we are here at this time, and we bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. We thank you very much, and how may we assist you today?
Well, welcome, Adronis. My name is, my true real name is Anthea. I'm from a distant universe and star system from yours, and I welcome you to the show tonight. And you have anything to tell us about our future here on Earth? And
we would say that regardless of your origin, we are all connected. Distance is the aspect of an illusion. Therefore, when you are interacting together as one mind, when you are associated together in a common cause, you are more together in interconnectedness than you may realize. So we thank you again for this interaction.
Yes, I have a question here. Are you part of the Blue Avians, or what part of the what do you look like?
We have no association with the aspect of what you would term as the Blue Avians. That is not within a group to which we associate with. But the whole idea in regards to our appearance, if you were to basically give some type of physical aspect of description, you would basically understand that we can connect ourselves in regards to what you would know as a Nordic-looking being. So basically looking into what you would know as a Nordic form of humanoid degree that would be approximately what you would know 7 feet in height. Basically, for those who are familiar, we would look very similar to the being that many of you have termed as Ashtar. Although we are not Ashtar, we represent that of the Adronis intelligence.
Another question I've been asked, do you know what's going on here on Earth about the chemtrails?
The aspect of the chemtrails is what you would know as a geoengineering aspect. It is the idea in that sense of attempting to block out certain forms of ultraviolet radiation from your own star that is actually encouraging the transmutational effect of DNA within your bodies. So the whole idea in that sense of the chemtrails is that it will utilize certain chemicals such as aluminum and other forms to basically function as a type of shield or barricade that will attempt the prevention of any particular forms of these ultraviolet rays from allowing yourselves to grow, evolve, and expand in the ideas of transmutational process.
I see. Jessica, you got a question?
Hello, Adronis. How are you? I believe we've spoken before.
We are wonderful. How are you?
I won't say my name because I'm recognized by different names in different civilizations that I've participated in. And, I just want to say thank you for being here. And, is there anything in particular that you feel that we should know as a group, as a unified group here on the planet?
Love each other. That's really the greatest message that we can give any of you. Is the whole idea is that you are one people. You are all in this together. The aspect to where you show appreciation, respect, and loving of each other, and realizing that the aspect of your dramas truly are trivial nature to helping you understand a reconnection to realigning yourself into who you prefer to be, which is that of a species that was created out of love. And the more that you are able to come together and share yourselves with each other, innovate together, create together, invent together, then that is basically what is going to bring your planet into a greater state of liberation where you can become that of a galactic society. That's basically what many different beings are happy to see through you. And that is what actually initiates contact, initiates talks and delegations and negotiations with other spacefaring civilizations. They will not touch a free will planet. And what we basically mean by that is because you are still under a veil of confusion. You still really do not know how to get along with each other or your own planet. But once many of you start to work on that, start to develop your love, and rather than feeling that you are very much divided as it relates to the idea of the trivial natures of melodrama, and you advance past that, and you see the goodness, the love, the appreciation and the compassion of all of you, things will change. This is what's going to move you into a unified culture. You see, we really do not care too much about the idea about where you have all, in that sense, emerged from. That's not important. What matters is who you are right now and who you have the potential to become. That's what is the game changer here. All of you coming together, sharing love for yourself, giving yourself the particular creative respect that is of your own nature. The funny thing that we see with many humans is they put so much energy in feeling their faults rather than being able to see much of their blessings and their capabilities as loving beings. Many of you put all of that energy into something that disempowers you. This has always been something that has allowed us to scratch our heads and say, why? Because the whole idea is that all of that energy that you put together in feeling inadequate can be reversed by putting all of that energy in becoming adequate. And the main reason, really, from what we have discovered, is because of societal programming that has been influenced by many of your governments. And this is why Brad has stated that letting go of the degree of the empowerment of your own governments is basically your own liberation. Continuing to empower themselves, feeling that you need the government, is what's going to allow this government to continue to feel that you are devalued and creating that illusion more. So this is why we say this aspect of you transforming your planet is up to all of you. It's not up to us. It's not up to anybody else beyond your world. You're the inhabitants. This is your planet. It is up to you to change it entirely.
Can I ask?
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Jessica.
Adronis, I was just curious. Recently, I was contacted by someone from Sirius by the name of Erasmus. Is this name familiar to you?
This is a recognizable name, yes.
Okay, is this a positive source for our well-being here on the planet?
We do not look at things positive or negative. It is the aspect to where there is evolution or lack thereof. But if you are basically looking into the idea of a name or an energy, rather, that can assist you in this way, then yes. But it represents the idea that your alignment determines the alignment of the energy that you're communicating with, because that aspect of Erasmus has many different polarities to that form. So basically, how you feel about yourself is the profound mirror that represents the effect about how others will portray themselves to you. Does not matter whether it is an extraterrestrial consciousness or your next door neighbor or a family member. If you feel down upon yourself, if you are fully suspicious without the idea of utilizing your discernment wisely, anything in regards to the polarities that you feel within yourself will become a result of that mirror effect.
Okay. And can I ask if you are in communication with Adama over with the Telosians?
We are not, no.
Okay. And any of the Hollow Earth or Garthans?
Your Earth is not hollow. It is what's known as a clustered Earth, otherwise known as a honeycomb. So the aspect of your Earth being hollow would be a falsity. It is the aspect that your Earth itself represents vaults, particular forms of clusters, as it would be no more different than looking at a honeycomb, looking inside a bee's hive and seeing all of these cells representing different vaults. And these vaults are many different miles in diameter and can basically host certain forms of cities and populaces that exist within your inner Argotha network. We have communicated with certain forms of inner Earth beings, as you term them, yes, but nothing in that sense that would represent, shall we say, an aspect of news that is furthering you. It is more so in the idea of what you would know as a checking in.
Okay, and my last question is you mentioned Ashtar. Same question now. Is there any connection with
we have spoken to the true essence that you would know as Ashtar. Yes, we speak quite regularly.
Okay, and so Ashtar is supportive of our planet and what's
the true
going on
Ashtar,
here?
what you would know as the true essence of this being. Yes, because there are many replications of him. More that represents artificial intelligence. So basically, our energies in that sense would communicate with him more so in spirit. Now, basically, in that sense, understand that he is not a physical being that exists within your realm of consciousness. He would exist in more of what you would know as a higher dimensional plane, although from his perspective it is physical, but he would not be able in that sense to, shall we say, show himself within your own physical plane without some type of compensation as it relates to that aspect of communication, physically in some form.
I've seen him, so I know what you... Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Go ahead, Nicole.
Hi, Adronis. It's Nicole.
Hello.
I have a question, and it sort of has to do with someone who'd asked a question about the ascension process. I don't like to use that word. You've mentioned in previous.
Why not?
It just doesn't feel like it's an ascent. It's not a. For me, it's not a ascension. It's a change.
All right. We basically understand what you mean. Our particular connection to this understanding would be an advancement rather than ascension. Now, from our perspective, ascension does exist, but it is something that few people on this planet will actually experience.
Mm-hmm. Understand. A lot of people are trying to figure out who or what they are, and there are many people like Brad and Jessica and JP and myself and Max that are helping people figure out, is there any way that people can, I guess, self-assist, or if there's a process that they could do to help with their, assisting themselves and for us becoming more conscious with one another so that we can raise the level of the planet while we're here?
All right. Well, firstly, we will state that if basically you are feeling misalignments within yourself about the idea that there is frustration that many people are not getting this information, that they realize that they are playing together with a game and remaining inside a confined box, and you are becoming agitated with that, that helps nobody. It is the idea, firstly, that you are taking the time to work and develop yourself, working and developing your own aspects of love, being able to live, function, breathe, exist in a plane that you feel that truly represents your unique perspective. If you are able to genuinely love and appreciate yourself, and we say this with the highest respect, you do not care where other people are. What we mean by that is that you are aligning yourself into such an equilibrium of who you are that you naturally radiate goodness wherever you go. And whether people pick up that radiance of goodness or not does not concern you. You are simply being the natural energy that you have signed up to become in this particular lifetime. This is how you reach a state of completion. This is how you move into advancement. If you are so concerned with feeling that you need to change people, that you need to help them come into an aspect of feeling that what they're doing is wrong and they need to change, you would really be no more better off than your own governments. That's not what it's about. It's the aspect that you are changing yourself because there's nobody else here to change. Everybody within your reality is a reflective catalyst of who you are. When you are basically encountering conflict from other people that are coming into your reality, it is a call sign of what you are still holding on emotionally to yourself. So, in order for you to truly be of service to others, that comes with the idea of feeling secure, aligned, and genuine to yourself. That is the key here. We understand that we have talked to many people and saying that, Adronis and Brad, I have come here for a particular mission. I have come here to assist many people in healing faculty. We understand that. Yes, indeed you have. Firstly, heal yourself. Work on the energies that have created stagnation within yourself through the particular forms of assignments that you have been given for yourself to realize your potentials. As you therefore do that, now you are becoming the example of the person that you have always wanted to be. And now you are shining your light throughout the world without a care in the world, because you are so much in love with yourself, your environment, your space, and everybody else that is an aspect of you, that catalyst. That is how you assist. You spread your light by working on yourself, because you are the only one you can change.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Adronis. That
you are welcome.
Really touched me personally as well. Thank you.
We send you our blessings. Thank you.
Brad, there was a question here. When will the Middle East have peace?
That is basically in talks right now. That is a discussion that is happening right now. There is basically certain communications happening through many different faculties, factions in that sense, that is attempting to completely create a truce. Now, basically, when that happens, it will be when your planet is more so off the scarcity of oil altogether. Now, we do feel that that will be happening within the next 5 to 10 years, approximately. Might be a little bit sooner, might be a little bit later. Basically, in that sense, your world is still currently very much relying upon the scarcity of oil because there has been no mainstream manufacturing aspect to replace many of your different forms of technology that run on alternative systems. For as long as that still exists, the idea of how oil is therefore obtained through these forms of warfare will continue. You will know when these particular forms of aspects of war will cease, when there is more of a practical solution in the mainstream that represents the replacement of many different forms of crude oil products, services, and technology altogether. As that happens, you will notice a great decline and even truces being signed as it pertains to many different forms of Middle Eastern aspects of skirmishes.
I see. Is the radiation that's a lot of experts are saying that there's radiation all over the United States and Canada, and it's really extremely high. Is that true, or is that somebody making this? It
would mainly depend in regards to what you are talking about altogether. Is there anything in regards that it is at a highly severe, contaminating, life-threatening area that represents radiation? No. But there are certain pockets within your planet that do contain high levels of radiation. Although understand that there are other particular technologies that are being utilized that are not under public awareness, that are actually containing many of these different forms of radiation spills in that sense, or radiation bouts. They are often being contained through magnetic fields.
I see. How about JP got a question?
JP got a question. Well, we're about 10 minutes away from the top of the hour. What would I like to know? Oh yeah, that's right. Could you tell me about your peoples, and what planet and, dimension and, star system do you come from? And what is your people's relationship to the Aldebrands?
All right. Well, basically, in that sense, firstly, we do not exist on a planet. We exist within the star of Sirius Alpha, which you have termed as the dog star, the brightest star within your sky. This is where we exist. We exist no more differently than what you would know as the intelligence of the ocean itself, which means that we are all interconnected. We do have a particular sense that could represent individuality, though that is not our driving force as it represents our existence. We can be aware of each other, but primarily we are aware of ourselves as one mind. The aspect into where we exist together is that of Sirius A, existing in the 6th density plateau of existence, where we are basically, from your eyes, non-physical. From our particular perspective, there is a physicality here. It would really be no more different than looking at, shall we say, some type of physicality that is malleable. Basically looking into the idea that everything is a stream of consciousness and that everything is interconnected. In regards to the aspect of your question about the Aldebaranians, yes, we are aware of them.
All right, thank you. And so from our perspective, you would appear to be a fire being or something like that?
Basically, what you would understand is light, yes. Although we are able to change form based upon thought, form, intention. So we are actually able to create bodies and being able to project ourselves, very similar to how we once appeared in a 4th density existence, basically representing that of a Nordic-like being.
Thank you.
So Erasmus is from Aldebaran. That's why I brought it up.
We thank you.
Okay, there's a question here about are aliens currently living in Antarctica? What is the discovery mentioned in regards to Antarctica?
Well, Antarctica in that sense is very much a quote-unquote vast opportunity of disclosure that will be coming your way. Now understand that Antarctica is the result of what you would know as the mainland of Atlantis. That was once Atlantis, many thousands of years ago. But because in the idea of the disaster that happened, the aspect in regards to how sanitation was brought upon the planet was the delivering of what you would know as a cold fusion graviton bomb. And that this cold fusion graviton bomb actually enabled an immediate flash freezing of the entire continent through the idea of an intense continental tectonic planetary shift. This is what led the mainland to basically adrift itself from the idea of the central axis or the central point of the equator, more so to the idea of the southern tip of your planet. Now, basically in regards to what is happening with, in that sense, Atlantis, or as you term, Antarctica, is that there are many discoveries that are being found under the ice sheets. So basically in that sense, the ice mainly just covered approximately 10% of the depth of surface that represents the idea of Antarctica. And because there has been certain forms of warming taking place upon your planet, some of these ice sheets were actually melting, and you could actually see structures coming from the particular mainland, from what you would know as pyramids, temples, underground tombs, underground installations, etc. So there have been, in that sense, a great involvement of many different beings that have been contained within Antarctica, or what you term as Atlantis. Basically, much of the original people that existed in Atlantis at that time, prior to even the aspects of the warfare that conducted itself, were original philosophers of the law of one. And that basically these would be no more different than what you would know as your African-appearing natives. And that was basically what you would know as the indigenous population that existed upon Atlantis upon that time. However, because there was many different forms of seizures of Atlantis, much of this connection of the idea of the original race basically led to a certain form of extermination, where much of the populated race that started to take over Atlantis was no more different than what you would know as your Aryan populace. During that time, there were negotiations with certain forms of extraterrestrials that would come upon the mainland and basically, in that sense, shall we say, attempt to dig up many different forms of ancient artifacts. Now, also, through the idea of the post-Atlantean disaster, many of the beings that you would understand as the inner Argothan beings themselves came upon Atlantis in that sense to retrieve certain forms of technology, but also in that sense created certain forms of installations as well, too, that were originally in forms of agreements with what you would know as the Vril Society, and even in regards to later on, representing that of the Nazi factions. So basically, there has been a multitude of different ownerships as it relates to the way of the land, or the usage of the land, that has spanned well over many of your millennia.
Adronis. A question here about, is Obama a clone of the king of Sirius planet? What is Obama's role in this planet?
Sirius had nothing to do with Obama.
I knew that.
Now,
Okay.
basically, yes, there have been certain clones that have been created of this being that you speak of, but basically only for the means of backups in the event something went wrong.
Yeah, I see that. How much time we got, JP? Why don't we go to the commercial for the break
well,
now?
we don't have commercials here. We are a listener-supported, subscriber-supported station. I'll save you the effort of doing it, Max. I have a song from it's from Sons of Arca, and it's called Erasmus Meets the Earthlings. I thought of
don't take too long.
Okay. Well, it's 5 minutes time. You have 5 minutes, everybody. Bathroom break. Good night.
When I was bounding on your planifolder.
Welcome back, Carter. Okay. Thank you for coming back here. Thank you for everyone to still be here. I don't know what I'm saying. I just got a hit of this gold, colloidal here. That's feeling a little bit under the weather again. But anyway, I'm fine. Adronis, are you still there?
Oh, yeah, it's Brad here. I just I've tuned out while we were on the break, so I could bring Adronis back in if you guys want to have more questions with him.
Well, I don't know.
Actually, before we go there were a few questions that were directed to you, Brad.
Okay.
What was Buzz Mac asked? What was the book that got you started on this, or what piqued your interest in this?
Yeah, it was actually my own book that I was creating back in 2008. It was called Day Zero, and it was all about the extraterrestrial presence. And I wanted to find out a lot of the truthful aspects about what it was all about. And so I started doing a lot of online research about it. And I started looking into, psychics, intuitive channels, black ops community personnel, etc. And what I was just discovering was a lot of commonalities, is that they were all believing that, when you go into meditation, you can connect with these very highly evolved spiritual extraterrestrial beings, and that they believed in a one infinite consciousness, and that they are basically assisting Earth at this time. And this just blew me away because it was so unlike anything that I had heard before. And so I decided just to put the book aside at that time and just concentrate more on meditation. So I just get that idea that I just, when something is really interesting to me, I just go full force. I go, warp 5 to understand more about it. And so I just started to go into meditation. I went to a library, just took out a book called Learn How to Meditate, and did all the exercises in it. And as I went into meditation, I went very, very deep. I would go into these really deep, very visual, almost like mazes in that way. It's almost kind of like looking at a first-person shooter, except it was more like a first-person experience. But you would see all of these beautiful, like, crystalline environments and, like, looking into different cosmic tunnels. And I would just be able to look at these orbs that were coming together in these experiences. And I'd start touching these orbs astrally in the meditation states. And I would just start getting these downloads every single night that I went to sleep. And then I'd wake up the next morning knowing things I didn't know before. And this has continued to happen nonstop for the past 8.5 years. So I just get these particular inspirations. And, even with myself, like when I first started off, I was quite visual, but it kind of dumbed down a little bit after that because I was so ahead. I've heard so many stories of people saying that they've had to kind of get their contacts, their guides to give them a bit of a kick in the butt to say, come on, get onto this, right? I never had that because I was so excited to get into this. So like, oh crap, we don't need to touch you. You're fine, right? You can just go ahead and you look into all this stuff. So I was always, full gear of looking into all this stuff. And a lot of the communications that I got was mostly just claircognizance, right? The state of instantaneous knowing. And that's mainly how I channel Adronis. So I don't always see him, as an entity in that way. I just basically connect with his energy. We become one. And then he just comes through and starts sharing all this information that is claircognizant with me. My responsibility is being able to translate that as a channel, which can be difficult at times because it's just being able to improve your vocabulary. Because Adronis does not speak English at all, and it's all up to you to really try and give the best kind of vocabulary you can with these particular type of messages. So that's what I've been working on, especially within the past 8 years. And it can be challenging at times because he gives you these really big concepts and you don't even know where to begin. So that's definitely been a challenge as a conscious channeler. So that has really been my journey, starting to do all this channeling since December of 2008, and now for over 8 years, channeling Adronis and connecting with some other entities as well too. It's just been incredible. I never thought that I'd be doing this kind of task in this life, especially, but I couldn't imagine a day not doing it.
Wow, yeah, a lot of people say that it just kind of came upon them. Was there a defining moment that you connected with Adronis, or was it sort of a gradual coming in?
Well, the whole idea is that his involvement with me has been so subtle. It's been very delicate. It's not been like a full-blown euphoric, I'm on mushrooms type state. It hasn't been like that at all. I've just recognized that when I first started channeling him, what really blew me away was his flow, about how easily he came through, how he was able to answer questions without even me being able to say the questions, and sharing all that. And this has been happening a lot of times. There's times too where I do self-channelings, where I'm actually talking to Adronis just like I talked with him through you guys. There'll be times too where I'm just saying a question like this. I go into the state, Adronis comes in, and I'm very conscious about what he's saying to me. And it's kind of like just two personalities are connected together in the one body. And that's really how I connect with him a lot. But I've also done some automatic writing aspects with him and just what I would refer to as my collective guidance. So, though there's been so many profound moments, everything that he has shared, there's a list, 10 miles long of everything that he's shared about how we're all interconnected, the importance of changing yourself. Reality is by interpretation, that you're really just here to play a game, that this is one big game, and it's a game of incarnation, and it's a game that we're basically taking seriously, but it also just represents an invention. It's a dynamic universe. There's so much that he's shared that's just really is profound.
Cool. One more kind of aspect to the question. Did Adronis go through the changes in other worlds like we're going through?
Yeah, every single civilization basically goes through that. It may not be as extreme about what we're going through, but basically every civilization works to really interconnect themselves to everything. And that's really the whole idea. It's very no more different than how we would understand the rainbow body states on our planet when we basically look at these ancient civilizations that have gone into luminous body, rainbow body states that sometimes they just have to disconnect themselves from the world and go off into their own peaceful state of connection. There was actually a meditation I did just about a week and a half ago around there, where I was basically just dissolving my own self-image. And when I was doing that, my girlfriend was there and she's like, I can't relate to you. Like you're just you're just like you have no self-image, right? And so it was kind of scary in that way. But to me, it was something that was, wow, this is incredible. It's something I never did before. And it kind of just lasted a night. But that time when that happened, I'm like, I kind of get what Adronis was talking about. Like this is really what they had to do. It was that they basically went so far without even being identified as anything. And that's kind of what you need to do, is to go into these rainbow body states, to go into luminous body, is that, it's not something that if you're a Mr. Popular or Miss Popular, probably not something you want to do. If you want to have some type of image, if you want to relate to some people, I'm not saying I'm going to be continuing to flow with that because, I do love my family and all that, but I wanted to try this for myself. And so I was basically utilizing my technique of light circuitry attunements to dissolve self-image. And you just see the matrix. That's it. You just feel that everything here is just a construct, is just an aspect of a game that everybody is playing. And it was so profound, but, again, just not being able to relate to your family or relate to anybody. It's, that's the other thing. So really, that's really what a lot of these civilizations will do, is they will just melt away the veils that confine them, and they will move up into these different sanctions of consciousness that we could refer to as dimensions or densities. And so that's what Adronis's people have done for thousands of years in our ways of counting, is that they've moved from a fourth to a fifth to a sixth density consciousness. And basically, because everything is now, I was at first communicating with the fifth density level of consciousness with Adronis. After 2012, December 21st, I took a bit of a break from Adronis. I kind of just didn't channel him for a couple months. When I decided to channel him again, I was now connecting with the sixth density consciousness of him. And so it was basically an octave shift. As we were moving into fourth density, I was able to now connect with him on a sixth density level. So that's basically how he has changed in that way. So that's really been my journey with this. But a lot of civilizations have to do this. Some of the civilizations will wait till they get right to the precipice where they need to change, and this will take place. Their whole planet shifts. They go through a luminous shift. Basically, it can affect, their own sun. It can affect their own planet. Their planet goes through an immense transmutational process by cycles, and they will shift their consciousness up into a higher octave or into a higher sphere, as some entities refer to it. They basically see all these things as spheres. It's kind of like you're moving from one sphere to another sphere to another. And they all represent these different types of octave-like shifts. And you continue to shift, and then you become aware of how, I guess you could say, aligned you are in a different capacity to where you were previously on a physical level. In fact, many of us are doing a lot of intense work, and we've shifted quite a few octaves up from a lot of people that may be very densely connected to the physical earth. We just can't even relate to them. They're like aliens to us.
Oh, I know.
So
I felt
this
that
is
strongly.
this is really showing us some of the octaves of shifts that we've been going through, because we're definitely moving up into the higher octaves of third density. Some of us are now starting to put our feet into fourth density as well too. So it is a continual transitional shift. But like I said, a lot of civilizations have to go through this like we are. We're just deciding to make it really intense and very quote unquote last minute.
Right. And we've made it really hard for ourselves because I know that a lot of us want, either help or, for our alien families to show themselves. And I know we kind of put ourselves in this boot camp. I lost track of what I was going to say. Is that why, the Sphere Being Alliance is so important to us? Because they're helping and assisting?
Well, you know, I haven't made contact with the Spirit Being Alliance. I know that's something that Corey Good talks a lot about. I've never talked to the Spirit Beings. I've never talked to the Blue Avians and stuff like that. To me, they're really no more different than any other type of alliance that's out there. They may have been in charge of certain things. But there's quite a few different alliances around the planet. And I'm sure if they're doing something very important, that's great. But I'm not really too concerned about that. It's more so in the idea of what's happening here on the planet. So being able to work together as the ground crew, I think that's mainly our focus, because we're only going to get breadcrumbs. We're only going to get bits and pieces about what's happening beyond our world. Because really, in retrospect, it's not for us to be concerned about what's happening beyond our world. You know, that's not our phase yet. We will eventually get to that point. And once we get to that point, then yeah, we'll be seeing a lot of what's happening with the intergalactic affairs. But even when I've asked Adronis these questions as well too, like what's happening in the stars? So, well, we can only give you bits and pieces, because really, in all due respect, it's none of your guys' business what's happening out there. That's for us to take care of. We're going to be taking care of that stuff. You guys don't have to worry about that. Where we want you guys to be on your planet, work with each other, work with yourself, and help to repair your planet. That's where you need to be right now. Once you do that, then you'll start getting a lot of the cosmic CNN in that way. You'll start getting a lot of the cosmic news about what's happening beyond the planet. But this is again why we're just getting bits and pieces. It's just so important that we're focused here on this planet.
Excellent. Well, if anyone else had any questions for Brad before we go on, we'd like to bring Adronis back in, perhaps. Max, did you want to?
I want to ask Brad a question.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead. Yep.
Everybody, there's a lot of people keep asking, is the Earth flat or not?
Yeah, that has actually been a question that has been brought to my attention quite a bit. Even Adronis has asked that. No, the Earth has never been flat. And again, a lot of this really represents the idea of getting into a lot of, I guess you could say, propaganda or psychological operations as well too. This has been something that's been disproven from the ancient Chinese, from the ancient Indians, well over thousands of years ago, even in ancient texts as well too, talking about a round Earth. And so the Earth has never been the aspect of flatness. And the reason why we do this is because we just get so inventive upon ourselves, feeling that, well, maybe we just need to reinvent. We need to rewrite things because maybe everything that we've had in the past no longer matters. And it really just gets into the psychological operation where people are unnecessarily battling with each other based upon the idea whether the world is round or whether it's flat. It's no more different than battling over your favorite kind of food in that particular type of way. So really the whole idea is, from what I've received from Adronis, no, the world has never been flat. It really can't be. It says such a structure like that would basically be impossible to create in this type of physical universe.
Okay. I knew that. I mean, okay, folks, I keep telling people that Earth is not flat, and not only that, the only place that are flat, for example, Florida, the state of Florida is flat, and
well, that's Dakota, a different kind of flat.
I know, but it's
Alberta's
Earth,
flat too.
Yeah, that's very true. There's a question here in the chat room here.
There's a few good questions, John.
Why don't you do the John? Because John always got these long last questions.
Yeah, I don't know if he wanted to address Adronis. Just wait. Perspective, scientific research, and cosmology about the Hadron Collider. Okay. Yeah, okay. If we could get, if you don't mind, Brad, if we could have Adronis pop in again.
Bring him back in? Yeah, sure. Okay, it'll just take a moment. It won't take as long as before, but I'll just bring him back in here. So I'll be one moment. We are back, and we will now continue with this interaction. Please feel free to continue with your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Adronis. We have a few questions from someone in our chat named John Saul.
Yes.
He asks questions about cosmology. From your perspective, what would areas of scientific research would be a better use of our scientists and physicists' efforts? at this time.
Are you referring to the aspect of understanding the cosmos further?
Yes, in terms of the cosmos.
Yes, well, understand that many of your modern science theories as it relates to the cosmos is completely incorrect. The idea in that sense that even space itself would be no more different than a clustered universe as it would rather the vacuum. A vacuum is only a partial substance as it relates to the aspect of the dynamic creation of the universe. But basically, again, you have to look into the science of the, shall we say, honeycomb-based toroidal field. That would really be the structure as it relates to your universe. Now, basically why we call it a honeycomb-based toroidal field is that you are looking at open pockets, open dimensions that all coexist together simultaneously, which means that there are openings and pockets and, shall we say, entrances into other universes through these particular pockets, and that they all coexist together through the aspects of veils and through the idea of these cells. So the whole idea in that sense is that much of these physicists, we would suggest, go to outer space themselves and see this in that way. But many of them in that sense will simply sit on a ball on this planet and theorize that this is what it must be because we've created a pretty convincing equation. That really doesn't matter. It's the idea where you are actually going out and seeing the structure of the Earth and basically the structure of the galaxy, the structure of the universe. And so this aspect of these pockets, of these cells, of this honeycomb together, representing that of a vacuum that relates to that of a functioning toroidal field, would be the aspect of what you would know as fractal geometry. And so being able to look into the idea of the torus, or what you would know as the 144 faces of God in that way, or what you would know in that way as a tetrahedron grid altogether. All of these forms of sacred geometries would be the natural map of the universe, and that they basically hold a different type of fractal pattern. Basically what many of you would understand as a Mandelbrot set. This is basically the structure of the universe, that as you continue to move in and zoom in more and more and more, it continues to repeat itself. But these particular aspects of the repeat go into different dimensions. So that would be the nature of how you understand the universe itself, is that everything is pockets, everything are vaults, everything are cells, and you are basically looking at a mirror of different dimensions that exist all around you, not just through the aspect of the, shall we say, aspect of space.
All right, thank you. Concerning the, what we call here the Large Hadron Collider on the Swiss-France border,
yes.
Are they up to no good, or
well, that would depend upon perspective, really, but basically what
right.
they're attempting to create is what you would know as a portal system, or basically attempting to shift different realities from one parallel Earth to another. This is basically one of the causes to what you would refer to as a Mandela effect, is the idea of utilizing certain forms of particle, shall we say, collisions, to create alternate universes to basically work together in their favor. But because there is so much guardianship in regards to the veils between different realities, they would never be able to accomplish this. And this is something they do not understand. So basically, the idea is that there have been certain forms of experiments that would actually be quite detrimental to your planet if they were carried out. And this is why on numerous occasions, the Hadron Collider has been deactivated over and over and over again. Basically through insurgents that you would know that work for a type of time corporation. Basically a different form of reality that exists many years ahead of yourselves, where these insurgent agents will actually come together and basically sabotage the Hadron Collider, preventing any particular forms of incursions as it relates to temporal interruptions.
I see.
This can also, in that sense, be done with certain levels of quantum computing. So basically understand that there is a sanitation corporation in that way that exists within what you term as your future that will actually come back into these particular points in your own dimensional understandings and prevent the aspect of any of these incursions from happening to shifting the populace into different timelines that do not serve.
Excellent. Thank you.
This would be no more different than what you would know as the legend, in that sense, or rather factual nature, of John Teeter.
Oh, you know about John Teeter.
He was an actual person, yes. He actually existed within your timeline, and you could understand that he, too, represented a covert agent to what you would know as the Time Corporation, or basically what you would know in that sense as, shall we say, the time corpse.
I happen to know him, Adronis.
Very good. He would represent
happened.
an example of one of these insurgents.
Yes, he is.
So he went through the parallels.
Yes.
I just saw that
as a
today.
means, in that sense, for
saw that today.
to sanitize much of your own dimensional Earth timelines.
Right. So
And because in that sense, no one would really even, quote unquote, on a full level, believe his story, he was able to share much of his own understandings on a simple chat form, dismissed in the idea of, shall we say, craziness, perhaps.
How did he get access into the parallels?
Basically understand that their particular type of technology maps out timelines no more different than you would map out a roadmap in that way. Just on a different level in regards to temporal cause.
But he did it for a good cause.
Aspects in the idea of the temporal cause is basically a part of the sanitation duties that they would perform, therefore preventing any particular incursions to a reality that has not been collectively agreed upon would be a violation. Therefore, these particular insurgents will intervene to ensure that the aspect remains sanitized.
Would the men in black be involved in pulling him out, or
No, that has nothing to do with this.
Okay. Thank you.
Adronis, I want to ask you, is there any type of danger of Earth coming into the future, like, you know how they talk about Planet X and Nibiru and all that stuff? What do you think about that?
There are always timelines that represent that, but that does not mean that the timelines will, quote unquote, bond together with your concurrent reality. We would basically state that on an, shall we say, average aspect of a particular prediction, the aspect in regards to Nibiru being any particular danger to your own star system would be about 1 billion to 1.
Oh, that sounds a lot better, because I kept telling people that's not going to happen.
You have to understand that the nature of Nibiru itself represents that of your companion star, what you would know as a brown dwarf. It has never been in the idea, in that sense, of an upcoming alignment that would represent the jeopardy of your own gravitational force as it relates to your star system or your planet. You understand that all star systems are engineered, and that they are all being provided for through what you would know as higher intelligences, and that these higher intelligences have absolutely no problem in calculating the appropriate mathematic that represents harmonious gravitational force, just as easy it is for you to create a plus or subtraction equation. It is not difficult at all. The idea of feeling that this will be some type of random event would not occur. All star systems, all planets, all life are geo-engineered through management. Every single one.
That's very logical.
Which means there is not one star that exists within your galaxy that was not created. Geo-engineered.
I have a question here. It says, are the Anunnakis going to return to Earth in our lifetime at all?
Let us basically state that much in regards to what you would refer to as the Anunnaki is highly distorted. The aspect in regards to what you would refer to as the Anunnaki basically go back into your Sumerian tablet lore, which have been primarily mistranslated. So the aspect in regards to what you would refer to as the original function of the Anunnaki is not quite the truth, only certain elements. The ideas in regards to the ancient builder races that were responsible for the development of your culture are very nearby. They are upon your planet. They are on the moon. They are in the star system. But the idea of the original creators that basically manifested humans after their own images are no longer contained within your own universe anymore. They have basically ascended themselves into another particular primary. And that basically what is happening right now is the leftovers of what you would know as the farmer races that have been responsible for the assistance and contribution to the human race. That's what remains. So the aspect of the Anunnaki is all based upon subjective decision to what it means to you.
Okay.
So that basically means that there have been imposter races posing as what you would know as the ancient gods, when in fact they weren't. So basically, in that sense, much of the DNA manipulation has been done through these ancient builder farmer races that have basically decided to create a particular suppression of the human race, mainly because humanity was given too much power too soon. This is why you have shifted from a 12-strand DNA helix to a double-strand DNA helix for the aspect of certain suppression that firstly, humanity needs to mature itself. When it is not mature, it can become quite warlike, which means that you humans have the capability to destroy this planet, this star system, this galaxy, and others if you were let loose. So basically, this is why there has been a heavy quarantine placed in effect as a means for humanity to learn the responsibilities of its own maturity. Work with yourselves, work with each other, work with your planet, harmonize yourself, and this will lead to the quarantine dropping.
What do you think about the President of the United States, Donald Trump?
What about him?
Do you think he's going to do good, or he's just a puppet?
That question is irrelevant. Really, the whole idea in that sense is that, as we've stated, we do not look into the aspects of polarity. We look into the aspects of evolution or lack thereof. The whole idea is that he represents the collective entanglement to which your United States of America has agreed that right now, this is what their leadership represents to his energy. The idea of feeling that you moved into great secrecy and great feeling that there has been a lot of hidden truths into now feeling angry about this. And in that sense, even having certain levels of fear. Through that aspect of fear, anger, and that particular type of egoism has manifested a collective prism that represents this energy known as Donald Trump. He is the collective impression of what represents the collective monadic, shall we say, degree of where you stand as a nation at this time. That will continue to change. So as we've stated, you have the opportunity to change right now, but many of you do not still realize the potentials and powers you have within yourselves to govern yourselves. So this will continue to play over and over and over again until you realize that people are the only ones that can truly govern themselves.
Absolutely.
There is no other way. Ever.
Okay, there was another question here. It says, is the book Urantia book correct?
We were not able to hear you. Could you please repeat your question?
Okay, I will repeat. A question here. Is the book of Urantia, is the book, is it real?
We are still not able to hear you.
We're having audio issues here.
Yeah, I'm having.
Can you hear me, Brad?
There's so many questions here, I can't keep up with it. I shouldn't even be keeping up with any questions here. I need help from the co-host here. I can't handle all this stuff. Anyway,
okay. Can you hear me?
ahead.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, we got
Okay,
a bit of interference. Yeah. Hang on,
Yeah.
It's gonna.
The question was, is the book of Urantia real, and where did that come from?
Real to some degree. Again, it is all aspects of perception in that way. Now, this conduit has not really utilized or read the book in that way, so our particular knowledge of it is limited.
Yes. Go ahead. That's another one.
All right. There was a lot of talk recently about us shifting to 5D, leaving behind loved ones not on that path. Is that even a possibility in our near future?
Yes.
Okay.
Understand that loved ones in that sense are truly, yes, we understand many of you want to take your families with you, take your friends with you. That is not your choice. have to understand that if you feel, for example, that you are heightening and advancing yourself appropriately spiritually and moving more into your own particular empowerment, but many of your loved ones are not, that is their own decision. This is, again, all part of living on a free will planet. Everybody has the natural will to guide themselves in any way they wish. That does not mean that all of your loved ones are going to come with you. Some are still very attached to this system that many of you are attempting to surpass. So basically that has the opportunity of happening, that you will exist in the idea of one dimension and them in another, simply because the emotional weight that they carry is all based upon the choice of what they feel they need to go through. And it's all about being able to respect and appreciate that. If you truly do love them, you are not concerned in that sense of their own orientation. Love binds you together in all forms eternally.
Okay. I'm trying to find the questions here. I'm having issues with my computer. Oh, we're not going to ask that, Craig. Jessica or JP, did you guys have any other questions? Or did you catch anything in the chat? Okay, I have a question here from someone in chat. Kenneth, are you aware of a race or a language called the Anunnaki? Anunnaki. Okay.
Not through that particular label, but we understand in that sense it is very similar to what you would know as your ancient Arabic forms of lettering.
Okay. And do animals have free will, and do they come with us?
They really do not have what you would know as a sentient ego to what you have. Now, basically, in that sense, animals hold no animosity to the aspect of, in that sense, even laying down their own life. We would basically state that animal consciousness themselves move right directly to source after they pass away, because they have no sense of self-identity that would restrain them from functioning on this planet in what you would know as the limbo states.
Mm. Well, that kind of makes
Humans,
me sad.
in that sense, have that because of the degree of emotions that they assign and hold grudges upon themselves in that way. So humans, in that sense, would pretty much be the only species that we are aware of that would actually move themselves into certain limbo states because of emotional attachments and possessiveness.
Yeah. I guess
Animals have
we have
no such quality of that nature. They are self-aware, but they are not in that sense holding grudges. They are not in that sense picketing in the jungle and saying, we no longer want to be eaten by the lion, said the gazelle. No. It's the whole idea that they truly are understanding the balance of nature. They are fine-tuned to that. And so they will move back to the source naturally when they pass on.
Okay. I caught something earlier. Do you know what is called Enki's gift?
Again, this represents subject to interpretation.
Okay.
And really holds no validity on a general level.
Right.
Other than what you make of it personally through the impression of the idea of the lore.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Adronis?
Yes.
Well, we got about 24. No, go ahead.
Yeah, Jessica, go ahead.
Okay. I was just wondering, Adronis, if you wanted to share with everyone the influence that your people have had on our planet and with humanity throughout history.
Yes, in the times past that we are one of the contributing farmer races that represent the idea of your creation. So basically very similar to what you understand as the Nordic intelligence that connects with Sirius to your planet. We represent one of these particular contributing races. So the Syrians would be one of the 22. So we have been here since the beginning of your inceptions. We have, in that sense, communicated with certain beings that have existed in the times of what you would know as Lemuria, in the times that you would know as Atlantis, in the times that you would know as Egypt. So basically, those are certain fundamental qualities that we have involved ourselves with, mainly in the way, in that sense, of attempting to convey universal knowledge, pure knowledge to yourselves, in the means of, shall we say, well-received tidings. But because there has been, in that sense, many different forms of, shall we say, takeovers and interventions upon your planet, that have corrupted much of the beginning phases of your own evolution, then this is basically what could be misinterpreted in the way of feeling that someone will take those teachings and make themselves gods among men. And so basically, many different forms of civilizations, including us, had a naivety. And this naivety in that sense was bringing forward information that has basically been shared with so many other races to develop their culture in times past, as you term it, that it would now be in that sense taken and misused based upon the degrees of greed. And much in this sense was basically taught by many different forms of ancient beings that once occupied Maldek, that once occupied Orion, that currently occupy Draconis. And that these particular beings would come forward and create certain forms of manipulation tactics. Other beings that also once existed indigenously within your planet, known as the Jinn, also assisted in the idea of this manipulation as a means for humanity to self-sabotage themselves, so that they were primarily more so interested in the ancient living library of Earth. Now understand that the ancient builder race that created you, and many of the contributing races that also later on added their DNA stock to your own, understand that no more differently, that how your father and how your mother will pass on the aspect of certain levels of emotional dysfunction to their children. This is exactly what has happened to humanity. The aspect of certain forms of unclean areas of karma has been passed down by many of these particular governing farming races upon the earth human. And so basically in that idea, this is why many of us have come back at this time to clean the slate, because there is unfinished work that needs to be done to basically allowing humanity to be purified. And our role is playing more of the behind the scenes work that is taking place beyond your planet to assist in the idea that you now all have the space to reconcile the areas that have been faltered out of alignment for thousands of years, going back into the times of ancient Lemuria, so that you can now therefore evolve your cultures appropriately and moving yourself into the alignment of the original intention about why you were created, to become a unified race that would also assist in helping others to unify themselves throughout the galaxy.
Anybody else?
I'm just going to grab a couple random questions from the chat. Captain Jason would like to know, is there a relationship between Paul Ryan Obama and Xi Jinping and Putin? I don't know what he means by that.
The closest thing we could state is that they are in associations with each other, but this is no more different than what you would know as a stage play. The aspects of your politics are no more different than going to sit down and watching theater. Mm-hmm. It is the exact same thing. They are all aware of each other. They are all playing games as figureheads to moving humanity in a certain direction based upon the collective consciousness's natural will. That's all your politics represent. There is nothing authentic about them ever.
Mm-hmm. I don't even.
They are no more different than what you would term
actors.
as your actors. Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel about them.
That includes your Donald Trump.
Yeah. Okay, Deb G1 wanted to know, Adronis, if you had a young friend with terminal cancer, how would you direct him or her to heal themselves?
It is not about the idea of directing themselves to heal. It is about honoring themselves for who they are and being able to show them so much love that they can now feel that love within themselves, and therefore the love governs their reaction to how they wish to service themselves based upon that intention of what they've received. The aspect in regards to cancer in that sense is not something that you're just getting randomly. It comes from a lack. And it is the lack itself that basically spawns the idea of these particular illnesses. So when you notice that a loved one may have certain forms of cancer, love them to the point where you feel that you cannot do anything else because it is so liberating to you. That is how you are helping people along. Show them who they are. Do not attempt to fix them. Love them even when they are going through this, because they will take all of that love and that will motivate them into a direction where they will now work in seeing themselves in that value of love, and therefore that dissolves all ailments naturally. The aspect of treatment is truly the most profound when it is acted upon self-treatment and self-realization to the empowerment that exists within every soul.
Anybody else?
Yeah, there was a couple questions. Lunatics Around Me asks, was the Lyrian Wars really 800 million years ago, our time?
That is an approximation. There is no exact date for when this took place.
Okay. Seriously, Christina asks, can you discuss more about the energy of Ra as the energies of the sun of Sirius versus the Ra that sometimes is described as Marduk becoming Ra?
That simply represents the idea of sun energy, or what you would know as the great golden light in that way. We ourselves represent an energy of Ra, to which you would understand it the Sirius golden form, the golden energy in that particular way. The Ra that was basically spoken about, for the example, in the Law of One, would represent in that sense a great teacher, a particular form of being that once existed that reached a state of ascension and moved themselves into the higher spheres of consciousness to basically become that of a humble messenger, delivered in the idea of intention to further this sharing of harmonious tidings with a planet that they had associations together with during the times of ancient Egypt. So the aspect of the raw energy would basically represent that, very similar to that of a Christed consciousness. To become a philosopher of the Law of One. The raw energy in that sense, the energies of the sun, the energy that exists within each of you, the energy that moves you into Christus consciousness, which is the aspect of becoming a completed being.
Okay, thank you.
All Ra really means is sun, or sun energy.
Yes.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We are happy to take one last question before we conclude this interaction with you this evening of your time.
Okay, I'll turn it over to Max then.
Adronis, thank you for being here tonight with us, and I'm very honored that you've answered all the questions really good, and I really appreciate it, and thank you so much, and thank you for being on our show.
We thank you as well for the invitation.
Thank you, Adronis. Namaste.
We will now conclude this interaction. We will now return to the conduit and speak to you again all, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye for now.
Goodbye.